The team runs to the detective, the blood pooling deeper around her body. As they reach Celeste, they all immediately recoil. Nate covers his nose with his arm, the sudden sting of hunger burning through his veins. Her blood is too strong, Adam manages to stammer, also struggling to draw back from the intoxicating scent of it. Nate's head swims with the temptation of Celeste's blood, a primal instinct trying to claw its way up from the deep part of him. He has to turn fully away. They'd all been overcome with adrenaline before, which had masked it, but now, nothing is stemming the draw of it. A heavy drop of rain lands on his shoulder. It dribbles through his shirt, helping to snap some of his senses out of the blood haze. He looks up at the half-dilapidated ceiling, the downpour leaking through it. The rain, Nate mutters, an idea pounding in his head. He swings back around. The rain will wash away the blood and the scent. Morgan's gaze flashes over the room, and then she bolts to one side, grabbing up a hunk of crumpled metal. She launches it up at the roof above the detective with the speed of a missile. It crashes through the warped, eroded metal with a thundering smash. The roof cracks and collapses, piling all around them in rusted, shattered heaps. A flood of rain bursts through the new hole, pouring down onto Celeste. The halo of blood begins to dilute and wash away. Nate dares a breath. The scent of Celeste's altered blood is still there. Nate can almost taste it on the air, staining the cold damp and sweetening the rain. But it's not as strong as before. It had been terrifyingly tempting. With the team now able to focus, their gazes drop back to the detective. Nate rushes forwards, not noticing Adam is about to do the same. Sirens still play at the distant edges of Adam's hearing, but it doesn't matter. Everything suddenly drowns away except the battered, unmoving sight of Celeste. Adam takes a rushed step forwards, attention trained on the detective, but his panicked focus is broken by Nate, who sprints to Celeste's side and drops to his knees beside her. Blinking out of his daze, Adam manages to stumble a step back, wondering just why he'd been so desperate to get to the detective. The answer is something he refuses to think about in that moment. Instead, he focuses back on Nate, who has curled his arms around Celeste to half pull the detective into his lap. Celeste? Nate whispers, words as soft as the way he caresses Celeste's cheek. There's no response, and fear forces Adam to crouch down beside them. I can hear a heartbeat, Adam says, and then he frowns. But it's weak, unsteady. The news has Nate hugging the detective even closer, the carrying action causing a knot to twist in Adam's stomach. A groan murmurs from Celeste's lips, making them both snap their attention back on her. Celeste? Adam and Nate ask at the same time. Desperation hangs heavily on their voices. The detective's brow shifts into a pained frown, but her eyes eventually open. Adam's body freezes for a moment when Celeste's gaze moves directly to him. Adam? Yes, he replies, the word tumbling from his mouth with hurried speed. I'm here. He tenses further, lips pursing. We're here. Celeste's focus drifts to the other side, where Nate is still holding her. You're going to be all right. Nate smiles. I'll make sure of it. A ripple of something uneasy passes through Adam as Nate says those words. A soft, crackled chuckle erupts from the detective, pain tugging at the edges of it. If I die here, tell people I did something heroic. But you did, Nate says, frowning. You did good, detective, Adam adds. Really good. His words cause the faintest smile on Celeste's lips, and Adam suddenly wishes he could see it more often. He shakes away the feeling. At least that's something, then, Celeste says, flicking her gaze between Adam and Nate crouched either side of her. The joking tone fades, the detective's eyes blinking shut. Adam's jaw tenses with sudden panic, and it takes all his willpower not to reach out to her. Celeste? Nate calls, hands grasping the detective tighter, uncaring about showing his true emotion. They're here, Farah calls. Bright blue lights flash like ghosts in the shadows of the warehouse, signaling the agency's arrival. Cars rev loudly, tires screeching in the mud outside. I'll go find them, Nate says, voice heavy with emotion. Look after Celeste. Adam gives a tense nod. With every bit of care, Nate lays Celeste on the ground and takes one last glance before sprinting off. Adam shuffles closer to the detective. This time he does reach out, fingers gently drawing over her cheek and cupping it. You have to live through this, Adam whispers, leaning closer, his lips almost against Celeste's ear. Please. It's barely 2 minutes before a team of gray-uniformed agents storm into the factory following Nate, some with medical bags gripped in hand. Adam snaps his hand back and quickly stands up, expression neutral and worry pushed deep down. The agents don't hesitate in springing forward. They set to work reviving the detective. The team linger nearby, everyone keeping half an eye on the medic's progress. Nate barely moves, his hands twisting together. Adam stays beside him, silent but not shifting from his friend's side, and doing all he can to focus on Nate and not on his gnawing fear for Celeste. Outside of the warehouse, 15 minutes later. Celeste? The sudden shout of a voice shocks the team back from their silent thoughts. Adam turns on the spot to watch as Rebecca clambers out of a large SUV. She sprints towards where the medics are wheeling the still unconscious detective towards a medical vehicle. Rebecca barely manages to stumble to a stop, hands falling on her daughter with a desperate cry. The rain seems to respect the moment, slowing to a gentle drizzle. Moonlight makes each droplet sparkle in the deep night's darkness. The medics pass glances at one another, obviously needing to get the detective into the vehicle, but not willing to speak to someone of such authority. Adam sucks in a breath and moves forward. Agent DeWolfe, he calls as he approaches. Rebecca's head whips around to stare narrow-eyed at him. You were supposed to protect her. She saved us, Farah says, the rest of the team stepping closer as well. What? Rebecca asks, obviously not noticing the tears leaving wet trails down her cheeks. It's true, Nate adds. Celeste risked herself for us. We wouldn't be here now without her ingenuity. No human has risked themselves like that for us since... Farah purses her lips. Well, since you, Rebecca. The anger falls from Rebecca's expression, replaced only by worry. She stares back down at the detective, taking her daughter's hand in her shaking one. Adam looks over towards Nate, who gives a slight nod of understanding. Stepping up beside Rebecca, Nate places an arm around her shoulders. They need to get Celeste to the facility. They can help her there. It takes a moment, but finally Rebecca lets the detective's hand fall free and moves away, guided by Nate. They all watch in somber silence as Celeste is wheeled away and settled into the vehicle. The doors click shut, and Adam purses his lips. When the vehicle has disappeared into the thick of trees that surround the warehouse, Rebecca swipes a sleeve over her eyes and turns to the group. Professionalism is the only thing remaining on her face. Where's Murphy? Over there, Morgan says, jerking ahead to where they had tied up Murphy. He'll be out for the count for some time. A slight sneer pulls at Rebecca's expression. Good. We'll take him back to the facility and see what we can get out of him. Did he... She swallows hard. Did he succeed? Adam gives a stiff nod. She frowns deeply. I see. And do you know what he did? What he's done? Celeste's blood has been altered, Nate explains. We found a makeshift lab and blood transfusion equipment. But Rebecca, whatever he's done, when he managed to get some of that blood in him, he was near on unstoppable, Morgan interrupts. Rebecca meets Adam's eye, a silent, tense exchange passing through the air. At least our detective will be safe now with him caught, Farah chimes in with a pleased grin. Rebecca tenses. Let's hope so. And then she moves away towards the group of agents gathered around agency vehicles. What does she mean by that? Farah asks, grin faltering. Adam doesn't reply, but he knows exactly why Rebecca is so worried. With the detective's blood altered and with what it did to Murphy, Murphy might not be the only one who wants it. Some days later, at the agency facility just outside of Wayhaven. I push my spoon around the dish of unrecognizable brown mush. I think it's possibly casserole. The meal is growing unappealing after 5 days of the same thing. It seems to be all they serve in the agency's facility. Being stuck in their medical lab for nearly a week is driving me a little insane. I'm starting to be here so often, I wonder if I ought to suggest that they give me my own room. At least I'm finally allowed visitors today. The thought is timed just right as a gentle knock sounds at the door. "Come in," I call, a little quieter than I meant to. My throat is still sore. The door creaks open, Rebecca peering around it with a soft smile. "Good morning. Can I come in?" "Good morning," I reply, a smile catching the word, and then a chuckle. Wow, it's nice to say that to someone who isn't a nurse or doctor. Rebecca gives a soft laugh, stepping inside and closing the door behind her. "I imagine it is. You've been stuck here for quite some time, but they were only doing their best to heal you." She moves closer, coming to sit on the chair at the side of my bed. It's a while before she speaks again, glancing towards me with a heaviness behind her brown eyes. "The doctors say you're healing well." "They've examined me enough, so they should know," I say. "Is there something wrong?" Her unease has me shifting beneath the flimsy bedsheet. She glances away for a moment and sighs. "I need to talk to you about what happened at the warehouse." Memories make my body tense, and I try to ignore the pain that sends through me. "What you did with Unit Bravo was incredibly brave, especially considering what you must have gone through." Her voice chokes as she says that, and she shakes her head and straightens her back. "We have Murphy in our holding cells, and we're doing what we can to extract as much information as possible from him." "And that's not going very well, I guess?" It's an easy assumption by the taut expression on her face. "Not incredibly so, no." She fidgets on the seat. "But that whole situation, and what you did and how you've come through it, well, it's impressed the agency." My brows arch in surprise. She leans forward, placing a hand beside me on the mattress. "They want you to become the human liaison for the town of Wayhaven." My brows go even higher. "Unit Bravo has been assigned to Wayhaven and will be your main point of contact. The agency are also pouring more resources into this facility to aid you." "Why?" She shrugs, slim shoulders wearily lifting the gray jacket she wears. "They are just being prepared. When something of this significance happens, it can ripple through the supernatural community and create issues." Well, that doesn't sound good. I try to bury the sudden worried thought. "With you as liaison, it means the agency can help Wayhaven should anything occur, without needing to move around the authorities. Everything will still need to be kept a tight secret, but it will offer more freedom to help those in our town. You'll always be involved or notified of anything we do, of course, and you'd have access to all of our knowledge and aid should anything happen." She meets my eye. "What do you think?" "Well," I say with a heavy breath, "they could have at least had the decency to bribe me with a fruit basket before laying this on me." Rebecca chuckles softly. "It's something I'll let our HR department know for future job offers." I give a smile. I guess I'll have to take the position anyway. Her own smile is not quite as pleased as I'd expected. "I'll let them know." "You don't want me to take it?" I ask. She stiffens. "I'm sure you'll do fine, but I am your mother, so I do worry." Her hand moves closer. "When I saw you outside of that warehouse..." She swallows, the emotion strangling her voice. I thought you were..." Her hands grasp the bedsheet. "I thought my life was over when I saw you like that." A small tear escapes her eyes and drops onto my hand as she casts her gaze down to hide her expression. "It's all right," I say in comfort. "I'm all right." My lips curve into as much of an encouraging smile as I can manage. She draws in a breath, her body shaking with it. "But what if you hadn't been, and it would have been my fault?" My expression softens. "That's..." Bang! We both almost jump out of our skins as the door to the room slams open with force. Farah shuffles inside, leaning against the doorframe with a charming grin plastered on her face. "Miss us, detective?" In one hand, she's grasping a bunch of balloons so vibrant in color they make my eyes hurt. Rebecca stands from her seat instantly, moving away to a corner of the room and turning her back. My focus is drawn back to Farah as she moves further inside, now accompanied by the rest of Unit Bravo. I arch a brow at the balloons, still unable to look at them straight on. "That's quite the bunch of balloons you have there." Farah's grin widens. You have no idea how many times I've heard that. She then gives a wink. I shake my head, rather impressed by how she managed to turn that sentence into something that sounded so much like an innuendo. Well, anyway, what brings you all here? I'm guessing it wasn't just to check in. Farah launches herself onto the bed, bouncing a little as she settles to sit beside me. Actually, that's exactly why we're here. If you hadn't heard, you're one of us now. Part of the agency. She says it with a heavy sense of foreboding, and then she breaks into a chuckle. Yes, I heard. I look over at Rebecca, who is still in one corner. Nate is standing next to her, a hand on her shoulder and concern on his brow. She gives a nod at whatever it is he's just said. The shrill ring of Rebecca's phone breaks my examination. She grabs it out of her jacket pocket, shoves it to her ear, and leaves the room. So, Farah says, pulling my attention back, how you feeling? I'll be fine, I reply with a smile. It'll just take a while. Humans always do heal slow, Farah says and shrugs. I forget. Well, you'll have the detective around now to remind you more often, Morgan adds, with a slightly sinister smirk. Who knows what the agency has in mind for her? That doesn't exactly help inspire much confidence about the position I just agreed to. Ah, you'll be fine, detective, Farah says, patting my knee and making me wince. She snaps her hand away and offers an apologetic smile. Eventually. What you did for us, detective, Nate says suddenly, his voice trailing off as he frowns. Adam steps forward. We're grateful. He meets my eye, holding it in a stern stare. All of us. No human has put themselves out there for us like you did, Farah says, grin matching the enthusiasm of her words. So, thanks for that. At least it meant we caught Murphy, I say, leaning back with a sigh. Don't have to worry about him anymore. Footsteps sound at the doorway as Aloud, my nurse, who also happens to be some sort of fae I discovered a few days ago, strides inside. Fae wasn't my first thought when looking at his 6'7" height and arms the size of tree trunks, but the shimmer to his russet-colored skin and the streams of blue hair which cover his pointed ears certainly marked him as something other than human. He also happens to look like some kind of Greek god. Apparently, you can't be supernatural unless you can make people swoon as you walk by. You lot, he says in a gruff voice, gesturing a finger at the team. Out. The detective needs a dose of meds. I groan. Can we see her later? Nate asks. Aloud nods, dark lips pursing into a tight line. Only if you get out now. Geez, spoil our fun, why don't you? Farah mutters, gaining a stern glare from Aloud. Farah raises her hands in defeat. I'm going. She slides off the bed and moves to join the rest of Unit Bravo as they shuffle out in a muddled queue. They close the door firmly behind them. Here you are. Aloud holds out a small white paper cup, a selection of colorful pills contained inside. You won't need these for much longer. I take the cup and grimace. I hope not. Ugh. In the hallway, outside of the detective's room. The team almost trip over Agent DeWolfe, who is standing just outside of the door. Is everything all right? Nate asks. He looks over her worried expression and hunched shoulders as she slips her phone into her jacket pocket. Not exactly, she replies, words as heavy as her frown. I've just heard back from the other agents. Adam stiffens beside Nate, arms folding tightly across his chest. And? It seems the theories on Celeste's blood we gained from the tests are correct. Rebecca shakes her head. Celeste's blood is more powerful than expected. As with the blocking ability, this strengthening effect also doesn't just work on vampires. She glances at them each in turn. It works on all supernaturals. Shit, Morgan groans, forcing her fingers through her hair. Now everything's going to be wanting a go at her to boost their powers. Yes, we get that, Nate says sharply to shut her up. Morgan's statement makes Rebecca's hands twist together. Why? Farah asks with a shrug. No one but us and a few others know about it, right? Nate passes Adam a knowing stare. Adam sighs. It won't take long for word to get out. You think the agency's got a leak? Farah's voice almost strangles in surprise. No, Rebecca replies firmly. It's just too big a piece of information to keep contained. Once again, Nate throws a knowing look Adam's way, the team leader raising a brow in silent reply. We can at least keep her identity safe, Adam adds. The supernaturals may know there's someone with power to tap, but not who it is. The statement seems to help Rebecca's obvious worried strain relax a little. The detective's about to be in for some fun then, Morgan comments. It's part of the reason you're all being assigned to Wayhaven, Rebecca explains. You'll work with Celeste, but also keep an eye on her. She takes a step away and pauses. Wayhaven is about to become supernatural central if we're not careful. And what about the detective? Morgan asks. You telling her what you just told us? I won't keep secrets from her anymore. Farah's lips snap into a smirk. All secrets? Rebecca tenses. Any that I can, I will tell her. Farah arches a brow, but is sensible enough not to push her. I have to meet with the others. Can one of you debrief my daughter in the meantime? She asks. I'll go. I'll do it. Nate and Adam speak the hurried reply at the same time. In response, Farah swings around, a grin growing on her face. Both rather keen, aren't you? Do it together, that's fine. Thank you, Rebecca says. She hurries off down the narrow, tubular corridor. Do it together? Farah's grin widens, eyes sparkling like stoked embers. Now there's a thought. Nate rolls his eyes. Come on, Adam. It's only then Nate notices the tension rippling over Adam's shoulders. Everything all right? Farah's gaze burns into the team leader, something that usually doesn't rattle Adam, but for some strange reason it does this time. We'll be waiting eagerly to hear everything in the common room, Farah says, her words seeming to hold some secret taunt. Adam twists around. Nate says, suddenly uncertain of the situation. We'll meet you there. Farah and Morgan then move away, leaving Nate and Adam to stand alone outside of the detective's room. Is there something wrong, Adam? Nate asks when they're definitely alone. Adam tenses even further and shakes his head. Nothing. Let's just get this over with. And then he slams a hand on the door in a pounding knock and heads inside, followed close behind by Nate. Inside the medical room. The tablets leave a bitter taste lingering on my tongue and down my throat, even after swilling the water Elidor hands me. We both glance up when a knock sounds at the door, Adam and Nate stepping inside. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to let her rest, Elidor says, blue brows drawing into a knot over deep-set eyes. Nate smiles, pushing his hands into his pockets. We won't be long. The detective needs to be informed of a situation, that's all. The nurse sighs. All right, but don't take too long. He then gathers up the cup and water, throws me a warm smile, and heads out of the room. I'll be back to check up soon. As soon as he's gone, Nate moves forward, rounding the end of the bed to sit in the chair beside me. Adam stays standing stiffly by the door. What's going on? I ask, frowning as I glance between them. Nate throws a worried look over at Adam before focusing back on me again. We have some bad news. I tense. It's been discovered that your blood, the empowering effects of it, will not just work on vampires, but on all supernaturals. I let out a long sigh and fall back against my pillows. Why can't anyone ever bring me good news? Nate offers a sympathetic smile. Your life won't be all about this, Celeste, but it's information you should know. You won't be able to ignore it. Adam steps forward. It won't be long before word gets out, and supernaturals will start to come looking for the source of this new power. For me, you mean? He nods. But it's why we've been assigned to Wayhaven. We're here to stay by your side for whatever should come. His green eyes meet mine in a firm gaze, and for some strange reason I feel a wave of reassurance wash over me. Adam's right, Nate adds, catching my attention once again. We won't let you go through it alone. A flurry of excitement springs from my stomach when he reaches a hand out to take mine. I won't. My reply stutters in my throat, my heart beating so hard it seems to have stolen my voice. Adam clears his throat suddenly, breaking the silent tension that had been building between Nate and me. I think we should let the detective get some rest. When I look over at him, a frown has settled deep on his brow, his gaze cast away from us. Right, Nate says, giving a nod. He stands from the chair, our hands only falling apart at the last moment. I'll see you soon. See you soon, I reply, my gaze following him as he moves across the room to leave. He pauses at the door, offers a final, lingering smile, and then goes. Adam hesitates for a moment, and I find myself calling towards him before I can stop myself. You must not be too happy, I say, making his brow arch in confusion. Having to suffer being around me a lot more. His eyes find mine as though drawn magnetically, and the intensity in the gaze makes me swallow hard. The smallest smile plays at the corner of his lips. It's a torture I'm coming to enjoy. And with that, he suddenly twists around and strides from the room. I stare at the spot he just was, his words slowly coming to settle in my head. It's a torture I'm coming to enjoy. What does that mean? Shaking my head to clear it of the thought, I look back into the room. I try not to let the brooding team leader linger in my mind, a task that is surprisingly harder than expected. It was already a tough task to relax in the stiff confines of the hospital bed, but with all the information I've just learned rattling about inside my aching head, I give up. Rolling onto my side, I let out a sharp breath. So I've now become some blood battery for supernaturals, some of which might find their way here in order to drain me because of it. Wonderful. When did my life get so complicated? I scoff. Oh, probably when that team of drop-dead gorgeous vampires walked into my office. I doubt it's going to get any easier from now on, either. At least Unit Bravo will be around. Having them as backup is sure to up my chances. They're practically a small army all by themselves. That thought, at least, helps to boost my waning optimism. I try to settle into the bed as best I can. I guess I'll just have to wait and see what comes my way. Until Book 2.